Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. In today's video, I'm going to do a flip through of my 2018 Project Life album. For half of this album, I documented in a monthly format, and half of this album I documented in a weekly format, just because of the number of pictures that I had taken at that time. The album that I'm using is a 12 by 12 pleather black album from scrapbook.com. This is what all of my 12 by 12 Project Life albums are in currently. So that is that. So this whole album is going to be 2018. Let's go ahead and open it up and get started. So I started off my album with a title page that just has just some 2018 pieces on it. This was a filtered picture from Snapchat that had 2018, and then some goals for the year. I used primarily the January Stories by the Month kit. I believe that this was a digital one, but I'm not 100% sure of that. Maybe the digital one from 2017 possibly. But anyway, this is just my intro page. Typically what I do is I like to have a picture of each of us or all of the family members at the beginning of the year. So you've got myself, Erin, and Isabella, and then another picture of Isabella here. Then we get into the monthly layouts. So this one is January, and it goes across both sides. I used some digital pieces from one of the January Stories by the Month kits. I believe this would have been the 2017 version, since that's the one that goes with a lot of the later physical ones that I had kept from 2018. And then I paired this with a lot of pieces from the Storytelling Basics collection, which you will see throughout this album, and the cards specifically are in the Stories by the Year. So this one, I added chipboard and some cork pieces to a lot of the photos, and then kept everything else pretty plain since a lot of it is already super busy. February and March, I didn't have very many pictures at all, so each of them only got one side of the page. For February, I used a February Stories by the Month digital kit and paired that with a card from the Stories by the Year collection. Again, just used some chipboard pieces, layered up some different versions of hearts. Some are chipboard, some are puffy, some are plastic, and then put some of the little tiny phrase stickers on top, which is something I like to do when I'm adding chipboard pieces like that onto a layout. For the right side, I used a lot of these circle label stickers from the Storytelling Basics collection from Allie. So you'll see those repeated throughout this layout. And then I paired that with a lot of circle chipboard, keeping that as my repeat element for this layout. April, I had a little bit more to work with, so this one went across two layouts. For the left side, I'm mostly documenting our Easter celebration, and then on the right side, I have pictures from Izzy's first haircut and a trip that we took down to Oklahoma to visit my younger brother. So lots of pinks and blacks and teals in this layout. I used a Stories by the Month kit from Allie Edwards, which was April themed, and I believe I printed off the digital version of it, since I had already used some of these pieces in last year's album, I believe. For May, I again have a double page spread here. A lot of this was from a zoo visit and a park visit, date night, and then our gender reveal party where we found out that we were having a boy. This one I blew up into a 6x8 photo and then cut it so that it would go into the three different slots here on the right. This one primarily uses the Storytelling Basics Stories by the Year collection and cards to tell the stories, and I also played around with some stamping as well. I really like the look of stamping on photos. June is another double page spread. This one I have mostly my Stories by the Year cards. That's where I believe all of these came from that. This piece right here was something older that I had purchased from a Stories Revisited sale. I believe this was in the 12 by 12 collection that Allie had released, if not last year, then the year before. So I really liked the half painted cork circles, and this I think is my last one. I might have one more, and it's probably in here if I do. In terms of embellishing my photos, I kept it super plain because they are very dark and very busy, which is my typical go-to when my photos are like that. For this week, we are starting finally in the weekly documenting. So about halfway through June, I started scrapbooking again. This is when I reinvigorated this hobby of mine and started to take a lot more photos each week. So I have a lot more to work with. Oh, and see, I do have another one of those cork pieces here. This one, I used a title piece from these stories by the year collection, but then the rest of this is from, I want to say the rest of this I actually stamped using the prompts. So like some of the cards came from the stories by the year, but these 4 across the center are ones that I had stamped myself. And I really like the look of having the same card repeated across the whole layout. I think that that helps to keep everything really cohesive, and it's not as like tiresome for the eye to look at it. So that's definitely one of my most favorite ways to, one of my most favorite formulas, I would say, in working inside of Project Life. Okay, so next we've got, I believe this also, and I didn't write down the week numbers. I just wrote down the dates, right? So this one goes from June 25th to July 1st. For this one, we went to the zoo, and that's pretty much what all of these photos are from, except for this one, which is when we went to the park. This one I kept really neutral tones. So I've got this like orangey, it's almost like a burnt orange type of color with some of the creams, and then also the cork pieces that just help keep everything really grounded. I like using these little tiny circle, tiny phrase stickers on a lot of the photos as well. And then I also did some more stamping on photos for this week. This is a throwback. So this was one of the very first Project Life layouts I ever created. And I actually did this in the moment this week, which would have been July 2nd to July 8th. So this was the week of 4th of July in 2018. In this one, I've got a lot of layering that you can see. I also was a subscriber at this point to Ellie Studio. So that's where a lot of my stuff came from. Some of it was just like stickers I had in my stash. And I also had a lot of pictures this week. So I created this 6x12 insert that went in between. So yeah, a lot of layering. The funny thing is and handwriting and all that kind of stuff. And the funny thing is like, I like the look of this, but it's definitely not my style anymore. At this point in time, I was following along with Adele, who is Inky Quill, and gosh, who else was I watching at this point on YouTube? And so I took a lot of inspiration from them when I was documenting, but still some of it is true to me still. Like I like to combine, I still like to put texture on my spread. I still like to use white space to add in some extra embellishing. It's just a different style. This is the same thing. So week 28, and these ones I did number. So this is 27, this is 28. And again, I have a lot of layering on these, which is very different than I do now. And handwriting, which now I mostly type everything so I can fit more of my text on there. This one would have been Izzy's starting dance class for the first time. We had a beer pong tournament with our neighbors, went to a restaurant, and then I was back at work, or I was working, trying to get a bunch of stuff done since I was pregnant at this time and knew that I was going to have to stay home pretty soon. So I was trying to get everything in order at work. Kind of crazy. For week 29, this is another one that I created in the moment using a lot of Ellie Studio products. It stuck to these yellow and blues, which I really like the color combination of the yellow and the blue. I've got some pictures painting Jonah's nursery before he was born, a trip to the dentist, some fun playing Play-Doh. I love this sheepish look on Aaron's face. Then we went over to Grand Rapids to meet up with my brother and his then fiance. They were getting married at later this year, I think. I think it was 2018 when they got married. No, they were married at this point. They were married. I'm losing track. I think they got married in 2017. So we had gone to meet them. So it was my brother and his wife, but I think she couldn't make it. They were there for a wedding, and she was the maid of honor. So she couldn't make it to lunch with us, but we met up with my brother for lunch and just enjoyed that. And then went out to Holland afterwards and visited my favorite coffee shop and then just did some shopping. So I've got pictures from all of that. So this was all that I had completed prior to coming back to Project Life, back to this album in the last year. So these were all already completed. Then we are back to ones that I have recently done. This spread right here, I really love the look of this. This one is made with a stamp set from Feed Your Craft. That is Journal It tags. I stamped out 7 tags so I could journal about each day of the week. And then I also printed off photos that corresponded to my journaling. So super love this one. And a lot of these cards came from an older Feed Your Craft kit that was designed by Brandy Kincaid. I don't remember the name of it. I think it was called maybe Clear and Cloudy. Okay, so next we are on to the August stories, or August. This was when I very first started subscribing to Allie Edwards Stories by the Month. So I've got the 2018 physical kit, which would have been the 2017 digital kit. So for this one, we had been working on our landscaping in our house. I have a couple pictures from taking Izzy to dance, some from going to the pool, and some from my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's bridal shower. Oh, and Jonah's finished wall. We actually planked a wall in his room. We DIY'd it ourselves. For the kit, I am pretty much using the August Stories by the Month kit, and then I've got just maybe 2 cards that came from the Storytelling Basics Stories by the Year collection. That one's been really nice to work with in pairing with all of these different sets to help me stretch all of that product in order to make, 4 to 5 layouts for each month. For the next week, this is August 6th to August 12th. I am again using a lot of cards from the August Stories by the Month. I had also printed off some chipboard pieces that I then DIY'd. So I took matte white photo paper, printed off the chipboard digitally, and then adhered that onto some chipboard that I bought from scrapbook.com, fussy cut it out, and then that created my own chipboard pieces. This one, we've got Izzy's first dentist appointment. We've got the completed nursery, so it's set up and ready for baby Jonah to arrive. Some ice cream, day at the lake, a run that my husband went on, and then a visit to the zoo. Lots happening, a lot happening each week of this particular year. For August 13th through August 19th, I documented a lot of my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's bridal shower. So they had one the previous week for her family and then this week for his family. So I've got a bunch of pictures from that. And then I also have some from just going to the park near our grandparents and then a day at the museum. For this one, I used kind of a combination of a lot of different products. So I've got Stories by the Year, I've got the August Stories by the Month, which is these 2, and then this one is from an older, I want to say like an April Stories by the Month kit. This is just one from my stash. Next, we've got August 20th to 26th. This one is again a lot of hodgepodge. So I've got some from, this was the Play Story Kit. This was a December daily card. This one was from Week in the Life, from an April kit. I believe this was from the actual August. And then this is from the Storytelling Basics. For this layout, we've got some stories of just kind of relaxing and working, a visit to the library, plus out to dinner one night, the park, and then this event that I went to with my mom to a local nursery. So just lots of little everyday stories, and that's one of my favorite things about this project. Okay, August 27th to September 2nd, we are getting closer and closer and closer to Jonah's due date. He was due at the beginning of October, so we are 1 month away from that. I've got some pictures of Izzy. This is one of my favorite ones of her with her belly just totally sticking out. I've got some from going to a brewery and a coffee shop in Holland. I think this was the second time we went there this summer. That's one of my favorite things to do. This was Aaron's and this was mine. And then we went back down to Oklahoma to visit my brother. Actually, we didn't. Izzy did. Izzy went with my parents to go visit my brother and his wife. So I've got pictures from her visit. And in the meantime, we stayed home. I couldn't travel at that point. I was too close to my due date. So that's why she went without us. And then we just had some siblings over and played lots of board games. So just kind of a relaxing week. September 3rd to 9th was the week of my sister-in-law's bachelorette party. So we did a painting class, we did a Renaissance festival, and then on Sunday I ended the week with going to the zoo for Aaron to do a race at the zoo, and then we took the kids there and just kind of, explored. For this week, I used the September Stories by the Month kit from 2018. It would have been the 2017 version digitally. And pretty much that's where everything came from, except for this card right here, which was storytelling, stories by the year. For September 10th through 16th, our town does an annual festival every year called Apple Fest. So we took Izzy to Apple Fest and I got a ton of pictures from that week. I really loved that we did this too because I think this was one of the very last things we did with her before Jonah was born. It was kind of a last hurrah for the summer. And even just looking at these photos, I can remember how much fun she had at it. It's been a couple years since, because of COVID, since we've been able to go. They haven't even hosted it in the last 2 years. But hopefully in 2022, it will be back again. This is the last week before Jonah was born. So this is the 17th to the 23rd. For this one, I am again using mostly the Stories by the Month kit from September with some added in Stories by the Year collection. This one I used a lot of the cork pieces that came in the Laugh story kit. I liked adding in that texture to this layout. And then I also have some chipboard pieces and tiny phrase stickers paired with little heart stickers. So just trying to keep things fairly simple so that our eyes are directed more to the photos themselves and the text than the actual embellishing. Now we are at the week of Jonah's arrival. This is one of my favorite layouts of this whole album, not just because of Jonah, but because I actually really like all of the white space on this. So we've got my weekly title card, the 24th through the 30th. Jonah was born on the 27th, which would have been a Friday, if I'm thinking right. Friday, 27, 28, 29, 30, a Thursday. He was born on a Thursday. I altered this card right here, which was from the September Story by the Month kit. It says first day, and it really meant the first day of school, but I changed it to mean the first day of his life. And then I've also got some other cards, like our family manifesto came from the family story kit that I've just had in my stash forever. And this felt like the right place to add that one in. And a lot of pictures from a photo session that we had in the hospital room after he was born. Then we are on to one of my favorite months of the year, October. So for October, I have the October Stories by the Month kit from 2018. Of course, the 2017 would have been the digital version. And then this one actually, so we've got Jonah was born this week. And the next week was Alex and Caitlin's wedding, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And we were all in it. Isabella was a flower girl. I was a bridesmaid and Aaron was the best man. So shortly after getting out of the hospital, we went and participated in this wedding. So I've got pictures from that. I tried to keep things not as Halloween-ish for October since this was a wedding and that's not really super Halloween related. So I chose a lot of the blues and the grays and white with black to pair with the pictures of the rehearsal and the wedding. For October 8th through 14th, I am again using mostly the Stories by the Month kit from October, with a couple of stories by the year, and then this one, which I believe came from an older, maybe February Stories by the Month. I don't remember where this one came from, and some of these were from the Cozy kit as well. So for this one, I wanted this to feel really like autumn, not so much like Halloween. So I stuck with the burnt orange colors and the super dark green, which I really like. So this card and this card really go well together and bring your eye across. And then we've got, you know, the dark green here, here, and here. And this one, even though is dark blue, it still pairs fairly well with that green color as well. For this one, I kept things real simple. I added a chipboard piece on most of the sections on the perimeter, and then did a circle cardstock sticker with a tiny little star chipboard embellishment throughout the middle. For October 15th through 21st, I am documenting some just around the home type of stories. At this point, we had participated in all the things that we needed to do, such as having a baby and a wedding, and actually this week was pretty chill as well. So we were mostly just at home at this point. I've got some pictures of doing art with Izzy. I have one of my favorite trees in our backyard as it was changing colors. Aaron going to work to find a bunch of diapers on his desk, a day at the park with the kids, and then going to our cousin's baby shower. This one, I've got a combination of Best. So these 3 cards came from the Best story kit. This was from not the 2018 collection, but maybe the 2019 Stories by the Month October kit. And then this one was from the Stories by the Year. So nothing from the October kit necessarily here, just kind of pulling stuff out of my stash that would work and still has that fall feeling. October 22nd to 28th was when Halloween stuff started to finally happen. For this one, I used the 2020 Stories by the Month digital kit and printed all of my cards on matte white photo paper, except for this one, and nope, that one came from it too, except for this one right here, the weekly card, which was from the Stories by the Year. For this one, I've got some documenting of our decorations, my daughter's preschool Halloween party, a local event that happened at a nursery where we took this like photo booth picture, a day where we went to a corn maze, and then our Halloween party for our bowling league. For October 29th through November 4th, we are documenting Halloween and Dia de los Muertos. So for Halloween, I have pictures of the outside of our house, carving a pumpkin, and then a daytime trick-or-treating. These are all super dark photos, and I paired them with these really dark cards. So this one, I feel like you're most drawn to this card because of the white space, or maybe to this card because of the, like, it's a color rather than all of the dark, and that's okay. I like that the orange pulls in the orange of the lights and the pumpkin. I feel like that helps to brighten things up a little bit, since everything is so dark over here. And then on the right-hand side, I mostly stuck with oranges and browns, which I felt like the brown went well still with the black because of the orange color. It's like a medium in between the black and the orange. This one, I'm talking about Halloween, so I've got a picture of everybody going out to trick-or-treat. Izzy with her candy, and then this is all about Dia de los Muertos, which I picked this card Remember because the holiday is about remembering our family members who have passed. So I talked about, you know, how we celebrated and why we celebrated. For November 5th through 11th, this is the first full week of November, so I used the November Stories by the Month from 2018 kit. I combined this with some cards, or a card from the Storytelling Basics Stories by the Year. And then I believe this one may have also been from the November one. This was from a different November set that I just had in my stash. And then this was the Best kit. For this one, I don't really have any like super big overarching story. This is more just like everyday random stuff, like making art at home, and this funny picture of Jonah, and the first snow of the year, and a day at bowling and me being super good at bowling. I had a 186, which was, I don't know if that's my best score anymore. I don't remember, but I mean, that's pretty darn good. So that is this week. November 12th through 18th, I documented a trip that we took to the mall just to go have some fun with the kids, a snowstorm at or in our town, some random pictures from home, and then some random pictures of some fall decor. This week, again, there wasn't really the big overarching story, except maybe this getting out of the house, since that's typically or technically where all my photos came from. This one, I'm using the November Stories by the Month kit for most of the cards, except for the title card, which came from the Stories by the Year. And then this one, I repeated the same formula to have a puffy heart sticker with a tiny phrase on top of it. So that is on every single 4x6 photo. November 19th through 25th was the week of Thanksgiving. So all of my Thanksgiving cards I had pulled out to use here. I kept this one fairly simple, again, because there are a lot of colors happening and a lot going on. So most of them just have a chipboard piece on them. And then across the middle, there are these flag or banner type of stickers that are in this cream sort of color. So they blend in a lot, which I think is not a bad thing, considering these have a lot of color. For November 26th through December 2nd, I went ahead and started using some Christmas colors here because a lot of what we did this week related to Christmas. We went and got our Christmas tree, we decorated it, we decorated the outside of our house, so that's all of this stuff over here. And then Aaron and I went on our first date night since having Jonah, and then just some random, again, around the house types of photos. For this one, I used a hodgepodge of materials. I've got Stories by the Year, which are these two cards. These ones both came from a February Stories by the Month kit. This was from November Stories by the Month, and this was from the 2018 December Daily collection from Kelly Perky, I believe was the one who designed that one. December 3rd through 9th is the first full week of December. So I've got my December Stories card from the December Stories by the Month kit 2018. I paired this with, I think, just the one card from the Storytelling Basics Stories by the Year. And the rest of these are all from the same kit here. So just telling stories about the various things we were doing for December. A lot of times in my December ones, I will include one or maybe two photos from each of the different things and stretch that out, since these are already documented in my December daily. This gives me the opportunity to tell other details that I haven't already talked about, or if there are any events, like we did a sleep out in our basement and we did this like photo prop day. Like these stories I don't necessarily have in December daily. So it does give me the opportunity to talk about some stories that I have not already documented. December 10 through 16, we have some more Christmas related stuff. We did our first annual scavenger hunt, which is an event that I put on for our family every year. We did the zoo lights, which is another annual tradition that we have. A day where we visited with grandparents and helped them set up their Christmas tree. And then our Christmas lights and some crafts that we were making here at home. For this one, I combined the December Stories by the Month, which is this card, and this card, with the Stories by the Year for the other three. And then I happily used up the rest of my house pleather embellishments, added some tiny phrase stickers, and then a couple of chipboard throughout the spread as well. For December 17th through the 23rd, I used, again, a combination of the December Stories by the Month kit and Stories by the Year. The Stories by the Year is basically, well, maybe it's just this one, and this is from Best. Everything else is from the December kit. For this one, I decided to shy away from the Christmas colors, and I used blues and browns and grays and yellows instead, and I actually really like the color combination with this page. December 24th through the 31st is the last full week of the year, Interesting that it ended on the 31st. That kind of made this fun. So for this one, actually it didn't end on the 31st. I think I may have 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yes, I just went ahead and added the 31st in there. So this is actually an 8-day span, and that's okay with me. And that's really why I like to use dates instead of weeks, because I didn't want to have to do a whole nother week for just the 31st. So for this one, we are celebrating Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and, well, New Year's Eve. So what I've got here, I've got pictures from Christmas Eve, spending that with my husband's family, Christmas Eve from our family, reading of The Night Before Christmas, and then Izzy getting her corn on the cob costume for Christmas, which is a whole story in and of itself. The day after Christmas, we went to our cousin's house and celebrated with them, and that's pretty much all of the stories that I told this time. This one was mostly using the Stories by the Year collection. So we've got all of these cards came from that collection, and these two, nope, just this one came from the December Stories by the Month, and this one came from the Best Story Kit. And then last but not least, we end with our outro page. For this one, I used a paper person collection for this card and the yellow card down here. That was from the 2021 kit. I don't remember what it was called, but it was the January kit from Paper Person. And then the rest of these, so these two cards are from the 2020 December Stories by the Month kit digitally. Added on a couple of chipboard pieces and then called this one done. So that is my 2018 Project Life album. So many stories documented, and now that this is completed, I am all the way to current. So I wanted to start Project Life with the year my daughter was born, which was 2015. So I have 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 are all completed. And I am currently working on 21, trying to stay as current as possible, although life keeps getting in the way, so I keep having to play catch up. But I'm really excited to only work on the current year now, to not have to go back and document anything from the past. Well, in this format at least. I hope that you enjoyed this flip through and that it gives you a little bit of a reminder of all the different layouts that I have done. Just about every single layout in this album has a process video, except for the ones that I made way back in 2018. I didn't even have a YouTube at that point. And then a couple of them are on my normal YouTube channel, but the vast majority of them are available only through Patreon. So you can find all of those here. I do have a playlist or a tag set up, which you can find on the Patreon homepage for our site, and that's just the 2018 Project Life tag. If you click on that, it'll give you all of the layouts and blog posts about every single spread that I have that's only available through Patreon. All right, friends, if you have any questions about any of the products or formulas or anything to do with Project Life, please let me know in the comments. And that's that. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to be done with this. All right, friends. Well, I am going to be back with some more process videos in the coming weeks. I believe next week I'm going to try to do some live October daily things, just depending on where we're at with our move. This video and all of the Project Life videos this month were recorded in or at the end of August, so before we actually did the move. And I did that so that you guys would have lots of content while we're moving, because I'm not going to be creating anything in that time. So pending being settled into our house at this point, my plan is to create some October daily stuff with you guys next week to get us ready for October daily. And then starting in October, we will have daily videos to work on that project together. So look for a project or a Patreon calendar to come out at some point next week, which will let you know what to expect in the month of October. All right, friends, well, that is going to be it for me for today. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope this makes you feel inspired to tell some stories or finish a project that you've got on your bucket list. yes, until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next videos. Bye, friend.